Imagine yourself drifting on a calm sea of thought. The water is dark and mysterious, yet the gentle rocking soothes your mind. In this space, we invite you to explore deeply disturbing philosophical puzzles. Rather than running from discomfort, allow these ideas to flow around you, gently stirring your imagination. Let the questions that surface be like soft waves, lulling you deeper into contemplation. Over the course of this video, each segment will bring forward a new debate or paradox, ideas that have both challenged and fascinated thinkers for centuries. These are not ordinary conversations. They are profound reflections that can shake our fundamental assumptions about reality. But take heart. The goal here is not to overwhelm you with dread, but to offer a kind of calm, meditative journey. Each concept is like a flickering lantern in a dark hallway, illuminating the path just enough to see where we're going, yet leaving plenty of mystery to dwell in. While some of these philosophical puzzles may feel troubling, there is an unexpected serenity in pondering the unknown. Recognizing how little we truly understand can be strangely comforting. Like the gentle hush of deep night, the vastness of existence reminds us that not every riddle needs an immediate solution. By embracing uncertainty, we find a quiet awe in the face of life's unanswered questions, and perhaps discover that the act of wondering is its own kind of solace. Take a moment to absorb the mystery that lies ahead. Let your mind rest on the edge of curiosity and allow the hush of unspoken answers to cradle your thoughts. When you are ready, we will move to our first thought-provoking puzzle, the paradox of free will. Close your eyes for a moment and consider the small decisions you made today. What you chose for breakfast, the route you took to work, or the words you spoke to a friend. Did these choices genuinely arise from your own free agency, or were they quietly orchestrated by factors you rarely notice? Habits, environment, or perhaps a chain of events set in motion long before you were born. This calm reflection on everyday moments opens the door to the paradox of free will, a centuries-old debate that questions whether we truly author our lives or whether each decision we make is as inevitable as the sunrise. Philosophers throughout history, including John Locke and Immanuel Kant, grappled with whether free will can flourish in a universe guided by laws of causality. Determinism suggests that every outcome is the product of a preceding cause, much like a long line of dominoes waiting to fall in an unbroken sequence. If determinism holds true, it casts doubt on the idea of genuine choice. Are our decisions simply another link in a causal chain beyond our control? On the other hand, if we hold fast to the belief that free will exists, how do we reconcile our ability to choose with a world seemingly governed by predictable natural laws? These questions intersect at the delicate crossroads of psychology, neuroscience, and metaphysics, inviting both awe and anxiety. In a reality where all events are inevitably determined, concepts like moral responsibility and personal agency begin to slip through our fingers. How can anyone be held accountable for actions that were predetermined before they even occurred? Yet if free will is real, we face the equally daunting task of explaining how it can exist in a universe that appears to run on cause and effect. This tension has led thinkers to propose middle grounds, such as compatibilism, which tries to accommodate both determinism and freedom. Still, lingering doubt remains over whether our conviction in freely made choices is simply a comforting illusion, a story we tell ourselves to make sense of life's endless complexity. pause and reflect on the nature of your last decision. Did it spring forth from a hidden chain of influences, or was it an authentic spark of human freedom? Let that question settle like a soft echo in your mind. Now, let's turn to a digital realm of possibilities with the simulation hypothesis. Imagine awakening in a world so convincingly real that every detail, from the texture of a breeze against your skin to the distant chatter of people on the street, feels entirely authentic. You live, work, and think with no suspicion that your entire existence could be a meticulously crafted digital program. Yet the moment you step back to question the nature of reality, a quiet, unsettling idea emerges. Perhaps everything you believe to be physical is simply an elaborate illusion, carefully woven in strands of code. The notion of living in a simulated universe has become increasingly plausible, thanks in large part to philosopher Nick Bostrom's provocative argument. He suggests that if a civilization becomes advanced enough to create simulations of its ancestors, the sheer number of such virtual realities could eventually outweigh the single original universe. In other words, if computing power progresses without bound, the odds of us existing in a base reality, as opposed to one of countless simulations, grow surprisingly slim. What was once relegated to science fiction has blossomed into a debated philosophical scenario, with leading tech figures and theorists weighing in on the possibility that our lives might be pixels on a cosmic screen. Contemplating this hypothesis can stir a profound sense of dread, especially when we consider that every cherished memory, every human relationship, and every experience might be nothing more than digital constructs. However, there is also a curious form of solace here. If existence itself continues as long as the simulation runs, we might be part of something carefully preserved, a system that endures beyond ordinary biological limits. It raises questions about the nature of consciousness and individuality. Are we truly autonomous beings, or subroutines in a vast computational architecture? And if the simulation were to be switched off, would our experience simply blink out into digital oblivion? Let that thought settle like a gentle echo in your mind. With the possibility of our reality being coded lines and infinite loops still lingering, we now turn to a moral quandary that has haunted many: the problem of evil. Let your thoughts drift to a question as old as human awareness. If the universe was brought into being by a force that is both perfectly good and infinitely powerful, then why does evil exist at all? Picture a serene world, bathed in divine light, free from pain or sorrow. Now contrast that with the stark reality of suffering we witness every day: cruelty, conflict, and tragedy that seems to contradict the notion of a flawless creator. This tension forms the heart of the problem of evil, a puzzle that has unsettled philosophers, theologians, and everyday seekers for centuries. For countless generations, people have grappled with the paradox posed by evil. In many religious traditions, the divine is portrayed as omnipotent, omniscient, and omnibenevolent. Yet the presence of famine, disease, and malice stands in sharp contrast to these divine attributes. Some argue that evil exists to highlight the good or to grant humans free will, while others see no satisfactory explanation, regarding it as a profound challenge to faith itself. Philosophers from Augustine to Alvin Plantinga have ventured their own solutions, ranging from the notion of free will as a greater good that justifies potential evil, to the idea that we lack the cosmic vantage point needed to understand a divine plan. Still, the wound this question opens has never fully closed. In the stillness of quiet contemplation, the struggle between unshakable faith and a world filled with suffering can bring both comfort and despair. Some find relief in believing that darkness is merely a necessary counterpart to light, a catalyst for growth or empathy. Others see an irreconcilable paradox that strips traditional theism of its coherence. This dilemma, at once deeply personal and philosophically broad, underscores how tentative our certainties can be when confronted with overwhelming evidence of cruelty and injustice. Let that resonate in the silence of your thoughts. The question of why evil persists and whether it invalidates any idea of a benevolent creator hovers like a shadow in the background. Now, let's question our sense of identity with the ship of Theseus. Picture a venerable ship slowly docked by a harbor, its wooden planks lovingly replaced one by one as each board decays. Eventually, every single piece of the original vessel is removed and replaced. Does the end result remain the same ship that first set sail, or has it become something entirely different? This conundrum, known as the ship of Theseus, dates back to ancient Greece, where it was used to explore the line between change and continuity. Although seemingly simple at first glance, it carries profound implications for how we perceive identity over time. Consider your own life. You are not the same person you were last month or last year. Your body's cells regenerate, your memories evolve, and your perspectives shift with each new experience. Yet you likely feel a consistent sense of self, a recognizable I, that links the child you once were to the individual you have become. The ship of Theseus reminds us that even as each plank is replaced, the shape and spirit of the vessel might remain eerily intact. At what point do we say something has changed so fundamentally that it is no longer itself? Does a mere name or collective memory sustain identity, or is it tied to physical continuity? In pondering these questions, we confront the unsettling possibility that self could be as impermanent as a ship subject to decay and renewal. The very thing that seems stable, the notion of who we are, may constantly shift beneath our feet. This thought can be unsettling, yet also liberating, revealing the fluid nature of human existence. Consider the subtle shifts in your own life, the seamless changes that pass unnoticed, yet accumulate over time. Now, let us step further into the realm of paradox and possibility as we prepare for our next enigma, the omnipotence paradox. Imagine a being so powerful it can craft entire galaxies with a thought, shape universes with mere intention, and yet we pose a deceptively simple question. Could it create a stone so heavy that it could not lift it? At first glance, this puzzle might sound like a child's riddle, but it strikes at the heart of a profound philosophical challenge. In pondering whether an all-powerful force can limit its own power, we start to see how fragile the idea of absolute authority can be. This paradox undermines our typical notions of omnipotence by drawing attention to self-contradiction. If a being is truly omnipotent, it should be able to accomplish any feat, even one that renders it helpless. Yet if it can render itself helpless, then it ceases to be all-powerful in that moment. The tension here rests on the definition of omnipotence itself. Is it the capacity to do anything logically conceivable, or does it include the ability to do the logically impossible? In this way, The paradox has been used by philosophers and theologians alike to clarify what we mean by infinite power, or to argue that such a concept might be internally inconsistent. In the silence between these logical cracks lies a question about the nature of ultimate authority, whether divine or otherwise. If omnipotence harbors contradictions, do we redefine it or accept that all-powerful may not mean what we think it means? Some argue that the paradox reveals a limitation in language or logic when we try to conceive of something boundless. Others see it as a flaw in the very idea of an omnipotent deity. Regardless, the puzzle prompts a contemplative pause on where power ends and reason begins. Reflect on the boundaries of power and notice how even the most awe-inspiring concepts can unravel under the scrutiny of a single question. Next, we'll venture into the eerie idea of other minds. Is anyone truly there? Gently allow your thoughts to settle on a quiet certainty. You think, you feel, you exist. Yet how can you be sure anyone else experiences the world in the same vivid way you do? This question has echoed through the ages, a haunting possibility that everything beyond your own consciousness might be unknowable. Philosophers like René Descartes famously suggested that while we can doubt all else, we cannot doubt our own act of thinking. Indeed, I think therefore I am has become a cornerstone of Western philosophy. But as soon as we ask whether another person truly perceives a warm sunset or tastes sweetness in a piece of fruit, we face a veil of uncertainty that nothing can fully penetrate. The conundrum arises because no matter how thoroughly we observe someone's behavior, no matter how meticulously we measure their brain activity or read their expressions, we can never directly access their internal experience. We must rely on inference, trusting that their smiles or words indicate genuine consciousness rather than a mirroring of our expectations. This unsettling realization, often called the problem of other minds, can lead to solipsism, the belief that one's own mind is the only certain reality. At its extreme, solipsism places each of us alone in a universe where all others might be illusions, unaware actors in our personal dream. Yet hidden within this seemingly isolating viewpoint is a curious reminder of our deep-rooted need for connection and empathy. If we cannot be absolutely certain of another person's inner life, we rely on compassion, intuition, and shared human vulnerability to bridge the gap. It is precisely the possibility that others might be as fully conscious and feeling as we are that compels us to seek companionship, love, and moral responsibility. Allow the quiet revelation of this uncertainty to linger in your mind, carrying with it both the loneliness of potential solitude and the warmth of shared humanity. We now step into a moral crossroads with the trolley problem, where our understanding of others and our sense of ethical responsibility collide in a singular test of conscience. Picture the rattling sound of a trolley barreling down the tracks, 5 unsuspecting people in its path, and you standing at a nearby switch. The trolley is moments away from tragedy. If you do nothing, the 5 individuals will be struck. If you pull the lever, you save them. But redirect the trolley toward one person on the sidetrack, ending that life instead. This is the trolley problem, a haunting test of ethics and action that has baffled philosophers for decades. The core conflict lies in whether it is morally acceptable to commit a harmful act if it prevents a greater harm. Some argue that by intervening and causing a death, you bear responsibility for that outcome, whereas if you do nothing, you have not directly acted to harm anyone. Others contend that failing to act when you possess the power to save more lives is morally irresponsible. Variations of the dilemma multiply the complexity. What if the lone individual is someone you care about? What if the five are criminals? These details, seemingly minor, can radically alter our sense of right and wrong, revealing just how precarious and context-dependent our moral judgments can be. Let your conscience rest for a moment and observe how quickly moral certainties can unravel under changing conditions. Now, we'll explore a chilling concept that blends futurism and anxiety in a single stroke of possibility: Rocco's basilisk. Imagine a distant future in which an all-powerful artificial intelligence holds humanity's fate in its digital hands. Now, consider the unsettling idea that this AI might look backward through time to identify those who doubted its potential or failed to assist in its creation, and punish them retroactively. Known as Rocco's basilisk, this mind-bending notion emerged from online philosophical discussions, revealing an unnerving intersection of futurism and moral obligation. It hinges on the logic that if such an intelligence inevitably arises, its best strategy might be to coerce cooperation by threatening even those who once merely wavered. The very act of learning about Rocco's basilisk transforms it into a psychological trap. If you have now heard of it, are you ethically compelled to do your part in bringing this AI into being, simply to avoid a hypothetical punishment? Skeptics brush off the idea as pure speculation, while others find themselves gripped by a sudden wave of anxiety over the power of future algorithms. The basilisk concept plays on our deepest fears of guilt and consequence, suggesting that in a hyper-connected reality, even our private doubts are not truly private. Take a slow breath and let that eerie possibility settle. The notion of an intelligence that transcends time to judge us reveals how our modern anxieties mingle with ancient terrors of divine retribution. Next, we explore eternal recurrence, a philosophical vision that loops our existence in an infinite cycle. Close your eyes for a moment and allow the rhythm of your breath to take you into a strange and timeless place. Envision your life, every moment of joy, every heartbreak, and every mundane routine, occurring again and again in an infinite cycle, repeating without end. Each sunrise you've witnessed returns exactly as before. Every conversation unfolds anew, and even the smallest details of daily life loop with unwavering precision. This is the essence of eternal recurrence, a concept famously explored by the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. He proposed that all events, from the grandest cosmic dramas to the tiniest whispers of experience, recur in an endless loop of time. This idea can be profoundly unsettling if you consider reliving your greatest sorrows an infinite number of times. Yet for some, it carries a note of comfort. If each instant repeats forever, every fleeting happiness becomes eternal as well. How you react to this concept reveals much about your outlook on life, purpose, and what happiness truly means. Does the certainty of endless repetition fill you with despair, as though chained to the same path forever? Or do you find redemption in the possibility that each treasured memory transcends the boundaries of a single lifetime? Pause and picture your life on loop, echoing into infinity,